Hey guys, this is Dan from the Digital Dukes, and today we are going to do a review of Prey on the PC. Prey, for the most part, launched to genuine critical acclaim and was another casualty of Bethesda's new review policy. This policy, wherein advanced copies of games do not ship out to the core media outlets pre-release, has for the most part played relatively favorably for Bethesda, as they have a strong stable of developers and a bevy of IPs that are in the eyes of many gamers classics. They also have a tendency to release pretty darn good games. That said, the debate over customers getting the chance to hear critical opinions in advance is a conversation for another day. Fast forward to May 5th, and Prey is released into our paws. A game that is a sequel to the 2006 game in name only, and has no connection or tie-in to the Human HUD developed Prey 2 that was cancelled after an impressive E3 showing in 2011. At some point, post-2011, Arcane Studios has handed the reins to the IP, and here we are. Prey is an action horror FPS developed by Arcane Studios, now a Bethesda-owned subsidiary, who has an impressive track record in their own right. Arx Fatalis on PC and original Xbox was an FPS dungeon crawler done extremely well. Dark Messiah of Might and Magic took the Source engine in the mid-2000s and waved its magic wand over it with some great physics-based combat. And more recently, Dishonored was a surprise hit that spawned last year, November of 2016 sequel. Upon launch, Prey came into this world with generally favorable player reviews, but due to some alarming glitches and save game corruption issues that caused many to lose progress well into the game, and in some cases prevented players from actually finishing it, its response has been mixed from a critical standpoint. But we're living in the now, and patch 1.03 is out, correcting most of the save game corruption issues, hopefully all of them, and numerous technical glitches and snafus, and that's where I start my experience, which I will keep spoiler-free for this review. So, Prey takes place in the dark and spooky halls and crew rec rooms of Talos 1, the space station that acts as the core setting. You can choose to play as a male or female with the name of Morgan Wu, a scientist that with his or her older brother, Alex, runs the show on Talos 1. The setting on display here is pretty interesting, much more so than the pre-release footage and press would have you believe. I was actually pretty impressed that somewhere in the 30-60 minute time frame, the atmosphere really kicks in and does not let go. Part of this effect is due to the Half-Life-esque narration that is driving you forward. But at the end of the day, there are aliens on the space station, and you have no memory of what happened. Therein, you're tasked with unraveling the mystery and trying to survive the alien presence aboard. The story is delivered in a very minimalist method. There are no long drawn-out and boring cutscenes, no lame characters that are giving you annoying and seemingly worthless side quests. The environmental storytelling, along with audio logs that are scattered about, which feature pre-recorded conversation from the crew, and the computer terminal system, which help relay some story padding exposition. Surprisingly, most of that is very interesting. On the story side, I came away very impressed. Maybe some slight pacing issues towards the end, but overall, it kept my attention, and I love how the overall story came together. Gameplay-wise, it is somewhat of a mashup of Deus Ex and System Shock 2. There is no getting away from the fact that Arcane set out to make a certain type of game when it came to the minute-to-minute gameplay loop. The Skyrim/Fallout nature of being able to pick up and throw most items in the environment helped engross me with the experience considerably. Just knowing that the book on the counter on the other side of the room was an object I could pick up and read to flesh out the backstory of certain members of the crew, and that the apple or snack next to it I could eat to replenish my health went a long way to add immersion. In addition, knowing that the alien mimics have the ability to transform into commonplace items, and that every time you enter a room you could be attacked by something coming alive is a nice touch. That said, you have the usual tools, that is to say a pistol, a wrench, shotgun, the glue gun, that acts as a multi-tool of sorts at your disposal, all of which help you get through each section of the space station. The space station itself is a maze of options. If there is a closed-off path, it usually means there are 3 other approaches you could take to get through that path. This type of choice added a great deal to the exploration aspect. Exploration as a whole was very good, but there are definitely a few spots throughout that you are being driven towards a story-based objective that needs to be addressed, and the leisurely investigative approach is not quite possible. The care that was clearly placed on having so many gameplay systems interconnect is really noticeable. There's a heavy emphasis on the skill point system, called neuromods, and how they have such a large impact on not only your given abilities, but within the story as well, which really deepen the overall connection to the world they crafted. I would say they employed one of the most interesting implementations to the standard skill tree system in recent years. That's not to say that there are zero issues, by any means. The reactor section of the story in the space station had massive performance problems. Even on the GeForce 1080, I generally lived in the 100 to 150 FPS range throughout the whole game on ultra settings. In the reactor area, be prepared for huge FPS drops to the teens almost through the entire section. It's a relatively small section, but I would say it was definitely a noticeable concern. Overall, I had zero issues though, saving, keeping a save, loading a save throughout my entire 38 to 40 hour playthrough. When it comes to sound, it was totally satisfactory, and the few pieces of music that played throughout got the job done well. Two pieces in particular were very strong, one being a haunting melody that evoked the spookiness factor, and the second being an actual new wave song that strangely fit very well, and was sung by Mae Whitman of Arrested Development fame, which was a nice touch. Overall, I would say Prey was a very strong experience that I think is well worth full price. Some relatively minor performance issues aside, it ran well, played well, and had an excellent story that stands above the typical cliched sci-fi video game narrative. I would give Prey an 8.5 out of 10. Thanks. And as always, if you like the videos, please subscribe, hit the like button, and check us out on iTunes at the Digital Dukes podcast. Thanks.